Thank you so much for clicking on this Cowboys Report video. I really do appreciate it. But we do know that almost 60% of you watch the show but aren't actually subscribed. So if you are one of those 60%, I'm not really sure what you guys are waiting for. We do daily Cowboys videos breaking down everything you need to know, including this Cowboys rumors coming up right now. First up today is if the Cowboys messed up the Dak Prescott deal. Something we've kind of talked about before, but former NFL GM Mike Tannenbaum has chimed in, and he's right. 4 stars. The Cowboys missed their window to have a team-friendly, if you could ever argue it was going to be team-friendly, deal for Dak Prescott. As Tannenbaum points out, the Cowboys paid others as the quarterback market went up in the process, costing themselves more money, even though it is only a couple million per year, but that is still significant if you add it up over a bunch of different players, because that's how the Cowboys often operate. They did it with DeMarcus Lawrence. They basically waited to the last second to pay Zeke Elliott. They waited up until a deadline for Zach Martin as well, training camp deadline. They did it with Dez Bryant. Here's what Tannenbaum had to say, and I very much agree with him. Dallas is paying for a mistake they made a year ago. A year ago, Zeke Elliott, with multiple years left on his contract, held out. And they rewarded him and that behavior and signed him and made him the highest paid NFL back. They paid a good player in Lael Collins, who I'd argue is now a great player. That's not the point. They paid a good player in Jalen Smith. And they didn't address Dak Prescott, who's won 40 games, 26 years old, productive, high character, checks every box as a franchise quarterback. Get him signed. Everything else can wait. I agree with Mike. The Cowboys missed their opportunity, and we'll break that down even just in terms of pure average per year money. If the Cowboys had operated with an urgency, they wouldn't be looking at a deal that could come in around $35 million per year. Maybe it's 34.5, maybe it's 35.5, somewhere in there. Had they shown urgency as soon as Dak was eligible, this was the quarterback market then. Look how different that is. Heck, Kirk Cousins got paid more per year now in his new extension. The Cowboys' lack of urgency killed them. It killed them. Had they operated with more urgency, had they tried to get the deal done before Goff, before Wentz, they might have been able to save more money. Instead, it's going to cost them a premium, and when that deal comes down, no one's really going to like it among Cowboys fans. Now, who's more important? A different question here related to Dak Prescott. E for Ezekiel Elliott, D for Dak Prescott. 2016, I might have been arguing for Elliott, and I think I would have been wrong. It's the quarterback. I think it's D for Dak Prescott, but I do want to hear from you guys. So I'm going to make this the pinned comment on today's video. Scroll on down there if you can hit the ad break here on YouTube. Cast your E's for Ezekiel or D for Dak. Let's talk more contract stuff here. The salary cap, is there fear of a drop here? What's going on? I'll give this 3 stars. It is perfectly rational to have some fears about a salary cap dip because the NFL is going to lose money and the teams are going to lose money. I don't think they're going to be at full capacity for every single game. Therefore, there will be revenue loss. Now, figuring out what exactly that revenue is, well, we don't quite yet know. Now, in terms of the Cowboys, they're going to lose millions if fans are not allowed into games. Now, Texas has already said 50% capacity is okay. We'll see, though, what the NFL decides across the board. Now, Forbes put together a list of projected revenue losses if there are no games or no fans at games, so keep that in mind. That's kind of like the worst-case scenario. The Cowboys projected to lose $621 million. That's significant. It's also based on the 2018 revenue figures. $621 is more than the Patriots, the next best team, made. So, yes, it's a lot of money because the Cowboys earn more money. Now, Jerry Jones, he's going to be fine. You don't have to worry about Jerry losing out on a bunch of money. But if the revenue dips, then in theory the salary cap has to dip. However, and this is why it's 3 stars and not 4, the NFL and the NFLPA negotiate the salary cap amount. Yes, it is based on revenue. Yes, there would likely be a potential dip in the revenue, therefore a dip in the salary cap. But both sides involved, the NFL and the NFLPA, they desperately don't want to dip. They don't want to have that because that means players gets cut. That impacts both the NFLPA and the NFL. So what the two sides could do, what I think they would end up doing, is borrow against future salary caps. Because remember, there were some significantly massive TV deals set to come in. Now, this year's cap, it's set, 198.2. Now, there was a report of $40 million in terms of a salary cap drop. That seems extreme to me, but we'll throw it in there as an example. This is just one example, nothing set in stone. These numbers are all just guesstimates and examples. Don't take it as like, well, Tom said this is going to happen. It's just an idea. It's an example. Now, the $240 million number up there was from Matt Verderami, who had said he had heard the 2021 cap before all the COVID-19 stuff came into play could be $240. So just as the example, we'll take the $240, we'll throw it to 2022 once the big fat new TV contract comes in and fans are, of course, allowed back in stadiums and everything gets back to the new normal. So what the NFL and the NFLPA could do is, okay, we don't want to have a salary cap that is it takes a massive dip and then a ridiculous skyrocket up. So just using those numbers, and you could borrow from 2023's cap to have some growth here, but what you could do is have flat caps so that you avoid a dip in 2021 at the cost of the massive skyrocket in 2022, but you could also borrow from a 2023 cap that could be upwards of $250 million or $260, spread that across, and now you guys get my point, right? You would be able to, instead of having this awkward, valley in the salary cap, a little bit more of a flat rise and a little bit more smoothing out of the cap. That's what I think ends up happening, but that is something the Cowboys have to be aware of in terms of the way they do their contracts going forward. I think that's why there's a little bit less overall across the board in the NFL, some hesitancy to try and get new contracts done. Speaking of COVID, by the way, the Stronger Together collection from our friends over at Fanatics, the hoodies, the t-shirts, the proceeds from this all go to COVID-19 relief. Chatsports.com/CowboysStrong. That's chatsports.com/CowboysStrong. Has the shirts, has the hoodies on sale right now, by the way, for over 25% off. I'll put that link in the comments and the description. I dig that hoodie, and it's all going to a good cause as well. Let's go to cornerback now. We'll talk some defense here. Trevon Diggs, is he going to start for the Cowboys? 2 stars. I think there is a very real chance Diggs earns that role. I don't think he's just going to be given it. I think he has to earn it, which is, of course, a good thing. Now, remember, this new regime, led by Mike McCarthy, by Mike Nolan, they like Diggs a lot. They consider Diggs as a trade-down candidate in round 1, but, of course, CeeDee Lamb ended up being there. But Diggs does face I think it's a steep learning curve going from college football to the NFL. It's a big change for all players, but especially for cornerbacks, where the level of athletes and players they face, it's just different. Diggs had a bit of a tricky go, a tough time against Jamar Chase, as did most college cornerbacks, if not all of them. But now he faces a Jamar Chase every single week. That's where things change in the NFL. Now, I think Diggs has a great chance to earn that role. I think what might end up happening is Anthony Brown, Jordan Lewis battle for that nickel corner spot. And if Diggs impresses, well, then he slots in as the CB2. And then Brown and Lewis battle for the nickel role, and they leave Awuzie, or if he moves to safety, which really helps out Diggs, in the quote-unquote number 1 cornerback role. I put that in quotes because, well, none of these guys are true number 1 corners, and that's going to be an issue for the Cowboys for this year and probably next year as well. But I do think there's a chance for Diggs to earn that role. But I want to hear from you guys, too. I think most of you are going to type in your ones here. Will Trevon Diggs start in week 1? 1 for yes, 0 for no. If I had to guess either way, and I had to not be a spineless coward sitting on the fence, I think I'd put in my 1 for yes. Let's go now to Everson Griffen, the defensive end, formerly of the Minnesota Vikings, now an NFL free agent. Still just a 1 star. Sorry, guys. Inside the star, once again, says the Cowboys should sign him. The issue here is the Cowboys simply haven't shown a ton of interest in doing so. Now, that could change if the price for Griffen drops substantially, but this is an organization that has not paid outside players very often. The last big-name free agent they went out and signed, argue it's Brandon Carr in terms of big money. And the Cowboys, looking at their depth chart, they might decide, you know what, we're gonna gamble on a lot of these less proven options. We're gonna gamble on Aldon Smith. We're gonna gamble on Randy Gregory, which is an option. I'm just curious to see how it all goes down. If I ran the Cowboys, I would have very much be exploring Everson Griffen. I'd do it real quickly. This is a Pro Bowl caliber pass rusher. 13 sacks 2017, 8 sacks in 2019 and 2017. He's a good player. And he'd instantly be the number 2 pass rusher on the Cowboys roster. And in fact, you could cut Tyrone Crawford and I think bring in Everson Griffen for a similar price tag. I don't think you'd be drastically, adding a bunch of money to your salary cap, but you could make it work. So if you ran the Cowboys, who would you pick at defensive end? G for Griffen or C for Tyrone Crawford? I still think Crawford's underrated, but he certainly is overpaid. And if you just want a pure pass rusher, I think Everson Griffen is a better fit. Speaking of underrated, how about Lael Collins? Is he underrated? 4 stars on this one. Yeah, he absolutely is. Coming off of a true breakout season as a member of the Dallas Cowboys. And quite frankly, that extension Collins signed kind of around this time last year looks like a steal. Now, he didn't make the Pro Bowl in 2019, but you know what? He probably should have. Because the growth the Cowboys saw from 2018 to 2019, substantial. Those are his pressure numbers allowed per Pro Football Focus. He got a lot better. In fact, Lael Collins, in reality, folks, wasn't just the best tackle on the Cowboys last year, and not that Tyron was bad. He was still in the top 15 in the NFL. But Collins was one of the best tackles in the NFL. Ryan Ramczyk, Lane Johnson, Ronnie Stanley. Those 3 players are either already one of the highest paid tackles in the NFL or are on the verge of being a highest paid tackle in the NFL. Collins was great last year. As much as I still believe in Tyron Smith, truth of the matter is Lael Collins is better. And the Cowboys got him on a pretty cheap deal. That works out pretty darn well in the end for the Dallas Cowboys. Collins finally had some stability at tackle. I hope the change away from Mark Colombo doesn't lead to regression. I don't think it will, but that is in the back of my mind. But I think Collins is one of the more underrated players on the Dallas Cowboys. And I think I mean this more from how the national media tends to view these players. So let me know what you guys think. Who do you believe is the most underrated Dallas Cowboy? Let's move on now back to the defensive end, and let's go to Dorance Armstrong, or defensive end spot, Is this a make or break year for Dorance Armstrong? 4 stars once again. It is. The way this team is constructed, Armstrong has to impress, or I'm not convinced he makes the team. He hasn't made a major impact in his first 2 years, hasn't yet turned 23, so that's understandable that a young player takes time. But the new regime coming in means those kind of depth guys at defensive end, they got to earn it. You're going to have Tank Lawrence as your number 1 edge rusher. The Cowboys are cautiously optimistic about Aldon Smith and Randy Gregory. They haven't moved on from Tyrone Crawford. I liked Bradley and I coming out of the draft more than I like Dorance Armstrong. Joe Jackson's still there. Jalen Jokes, they paid a bunch of money to Rondell Carter as a UDFA. So even though Dorance Armstrong was a 4th-round pick, he has to be better than what he's shown in his career. 2 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks. It's not great. And yes, Armstrong hasn't had a bunch of chances to play, but when he has been out there, his pressure rate is about 6.21%. That's not very good. That is indicative to me of a player who doesn't just need more opportunities, he has to make way more of his opportunities. So I'm hopeful Armstrong makes a big year 3 jump, but if he doesn't, he might be on the outside looking in when it comes to the team's roster. Hey Cowboys fans, thanks for watching the Cowboys Report. If you haven't already, click right here to subscribe to our channel for all the best Cowboys coverage on the internet. That's news, rumors, highlights, mailbags, film studies, and a whole lot more. And I'm making your lives a little bit easier as well with the next Cowboys Report video right here.